What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Join Dota League Season 4. We're going to have a best of two between Team CrayC and Balkan Bears Corleone here on the HeflaTV 2 Twitch channel. I'm Mike Loris, Scott Grand is here as well, and, well, hopefully this game is going to be a good one, but, man, we're all here to see BBC. I think that's fair to say.
Definitely. I've seen at least a couple of these players on Team CrayC in the amateur and tier 2 scene every once in a while, and they seem to do pretty well, but I don't know, I think it is also fair to say the Balkan Bears Corleone are probably on a different level, and well, we already are going to have some pretty interesting openers from either side. Leech Commander IO, a very comfortable start for Balkan Bears. Honestly, I don't think that Broodmother first ban is really warranted from Team CrayC, but who knows, maybe it's just something you're not comfortable going up against. Elder Titan Zeus, it's going to be their opener. A lot of damage, but already fairly light on the lockdown.
Yeah, but if you have enough damage, like Zeus being amplified by a natural order, then really do you need to lock down the enemies? You just straight up kill them. Maybe with all his burst damage, they'll be able to just instantly kill off an IO when he relocates in or something like that. It's certainly in the realm of possibility. Balkan Bears, they have a good amount of damage as well. Legion Commander IO, it generally tends to be a decent combination, although it is not as explosive as someone like a Tiny or even like a Bristleback who do quite a bit more. If you relocate a Legion Commander into a fight, unless she has a lot of dual damage already, then she's probably not going to do that much to swing the fight in your favor.
Definitely not. I'm still holding out for a wee Meepo. I don't think we're going to be seeing it, but one can always hope, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, just cross your fingers and hope for the best. Up against Zeus Elder Titan, not going to be the best of times, but I unfortunately don't think it's going to happen in this particular game. We do see a couple more bans out. Terrorblade going to get the boot, as well as Scarith Mage and a Spectre. So BBC going to respect the possibility for CrayC to go for this massive global strategy. And we're going to respect it a little bit more with the Ancient Apparition ban. But they already have the IO BBC, so I guess no matter what, CrayC weren't going to get the full-on global strat.
Fighting for global supremacy, it's going to be a Lina. If we're not going to get the Meepo, Lina is pretty high up on the list of wish list heroes, at least.
Oh, for sure. She's pretty flashy, not as flashy as Meepo. Then again, I don't think there are any heroes as flashy as Meepo. Lina is certainly up there. Doesn't not work well with IO at all. Like, there is no synergy between those two heroes. But hey, if the enemy team wants to play with burst damage, then Lina is more than okay with playing with burst damage.
Yeah, and you already see, like, Elder Titan Zeus. Elder Titan has a decent HP pool, but still, Laguna Blade is going to rip apart both of these heroes incredibly quickly. And although Zeus is a very high burst damage hero, he's also bursted down very quickly. So, Balkan Bears, it's an interesting approach to the draft, and I don't know, I think it definitely could work. I'm interested to see how they actually lane this Lina, however. As a supporting combination, IO and Lina are pretty terrible together. Like, they have no synergy together, as you've already said. The setup for LSA really isn't there. Maybe you can make Lina move a little bit faster, get into a better position for Light Strike Array, but more or less it's just a non-bow.
Maybe it's just going to be a solo mid Lina up against Zeus. It's not going to be the worst lane for her. It's certainly not going to be the best either, but I think Lina in this capacity is just going to be so weak that you really need something different until they pick up Tiny. This is actually going to make the IO Lina Tiny lane okay, just because Avalanche into LSA is certainly a lot better than anything they had previously. Legion Commander I expect to go towards the mid lane thereafter, so it's starting to shape up for BBC, as they are going to ultimately land on an IO Tiny combo for CrayC. They pick the Shadow Demon, maybe we're going to have a Mirana next.
Yeah, I don't see a good reason to avoid the Mirana as far as heroes that benefit from that. Shadow Demon setup, I'd love to see a Kunkka with them. Works decently well with the Elder Titan, some extra physical damage to add to their magic burst from the Zeus. Although I'm not sure if their lanes are really suited to having a Kunkka in them. Balkan Bears, they are going to go for a little bit more of a standard lanes, although the order of picking as well as just the Lina being the odd one out does kind of throw a wrench into things. It looks like they just have control over most portions of these games. Their lanes are looking pretty solid. Legion and mid up against the Zeus should have a fine time if that is actually the matchup. Both of them will happily spam out the waves, and Legion Commander has a huge base damage as well as attack animation advantage over the Zeus. So actually denying farm away from the Legion Commander is almost impossible if you're Zeus. It's going to be a Timbersaw for CrayC. Even more high amounts of burst, and with already 3 strength heroes on Balkan Bears, I quite like this. Even though they have Avalanche, LSA, and Duel to keep the Timbersaw in place, the damage that he's able to put out, I think, makes up for it.
Timbersaw is going to be just such a nuisance for BBC in order to deal with, and they have the duel, but Shadow Demon is really good against Legion Commander. Put someone in a bubble, and there will be no duel losing anytime soon there. Timbersaw doesn't have the best synergy with Elder Titan, just because he doesn't benefit, mostly because he's pure damage from the natural order, but it's still decent enough as far as bursting people down. BBC, they have Tiny and Legion Commander. They can get pretty bulky, but they also are heroes that you kind of feel are a lot tankier than they actually are. You're like, okay, I'm invulnerable. I'm just going to go in, and you end up getting punished because of it. So they have to watch out, BBC, because they are up against quite a lot of damage. Tiny and Legion Commander especially. For Legion and Io, they're kind of used. For Lina and Io, they're pretty much used to being a little bit softer. And then BBC, well, that's certainly a hero to cap off your lineup with.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I like it at all coming out from Balkan Bears. The Phoenix, in this lane situation, should be able to get some experience, but then again, it is another strength hero, and Team CrayC, they have decent ways to stop the Phoenix from getting that Icarus dive off. You can cancel with the Disruption, Thunderbolts here and there if it isn't a mid-Zeus, which I don't see why it wouldn't be. Our supporting duo should just be ET and Shadow Demon, and supports that can benefit from the Disruption. Elder Titan's a pretty good one with the Stomp. It's going to be a 3-second sleep at level 1, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, it's nice for setting up, but what are you actually setting up for? Are you just going to let the Timbersaw get in range? If they had some sort of big follow-up, someone who could actually make use of the fact that they're going to be sleeping there for quite a long time and to get into a perfect position, then it'll make a little bit more sense, I would say. It's actually a lot better in outside of a laning stage, where you are just going to be setting up maybe even some larger scale fights, random stomps or random disruptions. The stomps can set up for a Chronosphere or let Timbersaw get close, and then at that point, you're going to be doing quite a bit of hurt.
Yeah, that said, I'll go ahead and introduce the dire side of the map. It is CrayC playing on that side. And it is going to be Miranda playing on the Elder Titan. Faces Voidgoni farming, played by Mitza. Last support, Shadow Demon will be played by Lur GG. And mid lane, Zeus is going to be played by Inyasha. And Timbersaw off lane by Flash.
And on the BBC side, Solitude is going to be taking up the Lina. Up towards top, we got Hockey on the Legion Commander. And Io is going to be played by Fatty Flashy. And over towards mid, we got Wee on the Tiny. Bottom lane, it is going to be Pedrinho on the Phoenix just by himself. Phoenix versus Timbersaw. These are both 0 armor heroes. So in that regard, if they get into a fist fight, no one's really going to come out on top. Keep in mind, Phoenix is strength, so Whirling Death does hit him extra hard, but he is also ranged. I think Pedrinho should have a very, very slight lead in this lane, if any at all, until Solitude comes in, making the lane a little bit safer for BBC.
What happened to Io's gold? He's going for a pure bottle rush. He was pooled 1 ward by Solitude, but he's sitting on 625.
What do you mean? You didn't spend anything.
Oh, okay. I'm completely drunk. Never mind.
Okay, Grand is confirmed drunk, guys, but that's fine,
Yes.
because this is what Dota is all about, just having fun and saying stupid stuff. And I'm going to always say stupid stuff, so it's only fair that you say stuff also.
Excellent. Bounty Rune going to be secured by the IO, and that's going to put him very close to getting that bottle completed. He is going to have that in just the next couple of seconds with Tick Gold, since he has purely rushed it.
I think I have seen a Legion Commander IO lane once before, and I don't think it was BBC. I'm pretty sure it was not with Fatty Flashy, but it actually worked out really well. It ended up beating their tri-lane that they were up against. And with such a fast bottle, it certainly is possible. If the CrayC side don't actually keep hitting this IO, then the bottle charges onto Hockey will mean that Legion Commander is going to be able to sit here pretty much indefinitely in those fights and just constantly wail away. And that's probably what BBC are going to plan to do, just non-stop fighting in this lane. Maybe once they get level 2, though.
Yeah. The downside is that IO can't really trade hits with the Shadow Demon at all. 0 base armor compared to a 2 base armor hero, and also having the base damage advantage, or disadvantage. Fetty Flash can't really do much about that. The other lanes, Tiny versus Zeus mid, is not very interesting at all. It should just be both these heroes farming. Zeus, if there are any denies, should be able to, or should have his farm denied away from him. The Tiny will be able to secure those. The bottom lane is pretty interesting for BBC. With the Lina as well as the Phoenix, they should be doing just fine with this lane setup for them. Usually Phoenix struggles in that early laning stage, and I like the choice of BBC to give him more protected farm this game.
Yeah, so the Phoenix is going to be guaranteed some sort of impact. In the Phoenix games I've seen so far, he's been kind of a lukewarm hero. He's kind of doing his job, doing a little bit of damage with Fire Spirits, being annoying with his survivability and the Sun, but overall his impact has been less than stellar. So hopefully in this game we're going to actually see Phoenix have a fair showing, and let's see what Phoenix could actually do.
Yeah. Well, for now, we are in for a bit of a passive start. Orb of Venom picked up by the Leech Commander. Gonna be really nice when you're trading hits with the Faceless Void, as long as no bashes are involved. But we'll just get you a little bit of extra value when it comes to that harass.
And over towards bottom, Flash actually playing things pretty aggressively. He's going to get struck by an LSA. Solitude is only level 2, however, so that's not really going to do too much. And Timbersaw is going to get himself out of there. Over towards top, maybe Hockey, and Flash going to look to initiate. Fatty is going to keep up with that bottling, and it's going to be a turnaround. They're going to charge forward looking for this Elder Titan. They don't quite have enough. Unless they want to dive a tower. That seems pretty bad to me, but they are at full HP, and they're the ones to get initiated upon. That's the power of bottle on an IO. You have pretty much infinite mana and health, until of course it runs dry, but it's probably going to be sustained by the top runes eventually.
Yeah. For now, it was Tiny to get that rune bottled for himself. Probably needed a little bit more than the IO up in the top lane. Both of them sitting only on 1 charge, and worst case scenario, you can always just crow the bottle back and forth. Having 2 on your team in the current patch is completely acceptable, and Phoenix shouldn't be picking one up. That would get a little crowded.
He doesn't really need the mana. He's going to try to go for Flash down towards bottom, but Flash is going to be just fine. Timber Chain is going to keep him safe for the most part until Icarus Dive just in a loop. Sure, why not? Oh, it's over towards top where they're once again going to try to go in. Hockey charging forward. Going to look for that Shadow Demon. This time they're focusing on the IO, so the bottling isn't going to be sustained for that long. Hockey's going to be slept, whereas Fatty Flashy, still being focused down, has a tether away, and he will jump right through everyone and get back onto Hockey. It looks like everyone is going to be safe. Now the press the attack, going to share the healing once again. There's a deceptive amount of sustain on this top lane for BBC. If only they had just a little bit more help, they could have gotten a couple kills.
Definitely. Power Treads on the Leech Commander, Tranquil Boots eventually are going to come out, but yeah, for now, it's very passive. None of these lanes really are prone to rotating mid lane. Unless they get a haste rune, I don't expect them to leave the lane at all. We're fairly used to seeing Tiny in a dual lane mid with the IO. That's not the case this game, but he's still farming just fine, as is the Zeus. 16-1 and 16-0. Mid lane's more or less a wash.
And if Wee keeps up with this bottling, then he's probably not in too much danger of being picked off by the Zeus. Even though Zeus just got a freshened bottle, the amount of damage you can put on to the Tiny, though large, isn't really enough for a kill, since Tiny has 800 strength. It's really the armor where Tiny is the most fragile. Whereas if you compare that going the other way, Tiny doesn't have quite enough mana to Avalanche Toss in Yasha, but if he somehow finds that, then the Zeus is just dead. He just doesn't have enough HP to survive that combo.
Definitely. Well, for now, Timbersaw, he's getting good levels in the bottom, even though his farm is definitely subpar as far as offlaners are concerned. But then again, that's kind of be expected. He is up against a dual lane, so we'll have to see what Flash is actually able to do with this space. Once he hits level 6, I expect that to be when they look for rotations. And even though Zeus, his barrage of nukes by himself can kill off the Tiny, if you add in like a Chakra Morling Death on top of that, it's more than enough.
And he's probably going to have to make a rotation outright. I don't see a Timbersaw being able to kill a Phoenix reliably unless he somehow catches him very far up the lane, and Icarus Dive just isn't going to cut it. But I think Timbersaw should not be able to get a kill on Phoenix. Definitely Lina is a possibility if she's out of position, but I just think Phoenix should be completely safer as the Timbersaw. So Flash has got to leave a lane, and Timbersaw ganking the mid lane isn't really that impressive just because there aren't many trees. The mobility options for Timbersaw in the mid lane is kind of restricted there.
Definitely. For now, we have a pause. We don't know what's... Oh, it's actually Inyasha on the phone. Interesting. Pedrino, is there any explanation to his tag? Levi's ass.
Oh,
what's that
okay.
about?
That is... We're going to look at the effigies. So, on the BBC side, we have a couple of them. See? We got, like, you know... that going on. So maybe they just like that stuff. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
I think I looked at them in the other order than you did. I started at the top and went to the bottom. So I got to Meepos first, and this is fine. Like, can somebody scratch my back? That's a wonderful... I don't know. The other two.
It's a flying Meepo also.
It
There's
is.
some next level technology coming out from the Radiant.
Well, I mean, if you look at his cosmetics, it kind of makes sense. He has like this, I don't know, jetpack drill.
Does Meepo actually jump attack people?
Yes,
Okay.
that's an attack animation.
You'd probably have to since you're so tiny. If you want to
Yeah, you
hit
yeah.
overhand, you have to get some airtime.
Yep. The Dire team don't have anything super interesting on theirs.
Man, these are some good effigies. A little bit lacking as all 5 don't have it together, but Levi isn't here, so maybe his just complements the entire thing.
I mean, it kind of has to, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you're doing 2 things to people's asses. You need an ass here.
Well, I mean, we have Meepo's ass, but we're missing the other one.
We really needs to get on it. We is just underwhelming.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Is this guy actually really paying rent right now?
Maybe, I don't know.
I have to pay my rent now. Now in caps. It's 4 floors away. That is the greatest excuse I have ever heard.
Yeah.
It's like, if I don't
definitely up
actually
there.
leave right now, I will get kicked out. They're gonna cut off my internet, guys.
Oh, my goodness. This Broodmother attack animation, though. That is terrifying.
Man, no one likes Broodmother.
No. They really don't.
Jeez, she has a lot of teeth. Do spiders really have that many teeth?
No.
I don't think so.
Do they even have teeth? They have like those like fang things, but do they actually
Yeah.
have like teeth?
I don't think they do. Well, they especially don't have bone teeth.
Yeah.
I don't think they have... I mean, they have an exoskeleton, so that's not a thing.
They'd have like chitin teeth.
Something like that.
How do you actually say that? Is it chitin?
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 Chitinous
I know how to
plating.
spell it.
Chitinous plating is an upgrade for Ultralisks in StarCraft, and I think that's right. So I'm pretty sure it's
okay.
chitin.
Fair enough.
And that is how I learn stuff. What was it in StarCraft? That'll give me my answer.
Of course. Let's see. It comes from the French word chitine.
Which means probably the same thing.
Probably. Derived from the Greek word chitin. And now it's chitin for some reason. Okay.
It does sound more like something that would be a Greek thing. I don't know. Maybe it is just like a pure Greek thing.
Maybe it is. Could you let me free from top, please? Why not?
Levi, we take me. And I really wish Levi was here so we could actually see the full BBC. Wait, someone's actually missing a thing. Who's missing? Solitude? Solitude doesn't have one. What the hell?
Step
I'm
up your
disappointed.
game.
I'm so disappointed. I bet he didn't even buy the compendium. Killing esports.
I'm actually gonna check that now.
Literally the worst person ever.
His profile's private, I can't check it.
I mean, that's kind of incriminating.
See, he's just hiding that he doesn't have a compendium.
What a shame. What a shame. Never gonna get to TI5 with that.
Nope. Well, once they start selling the effigies, he'll buy a giant gold one to stick in the middle.
Could you get a gold one?
Oh, I don't know.
You
They
should
don't
be
sell
able.
them.
I mean, I don't know if you can, but you should be able to acquire one. Like if Valve was smart, they would have like those same statue chances, like of those figurines to be gold. Just like your effigy is randomly gold.
Actually, just made $500, but you can't trade it or sell it or anything.
Oh yeah, untradeable for sure.
You just get a shiny ass statue, and for BBC, it would literally be an ass statue.
Yeah, I don't know who that would be, like what hero you would choose for that, but I'm sure they would find a way. Probably like PA Arcana or something.
Maybe, but then you just look like a rich snob. Who would you actually want for your
Do you have to
golden
have
effigy?
the Do you have to have the cosmetics in order to build the effigy
You
out of
do.
it? Okay.
Yep.
I haven't built mine yet. I'm just sitting on it. I'm gonna have that
Yeah.
block of stone forever. It's like, yeah, I have the arcana, and I built a gold effigy out of it. What's it to you? God, if I saw that person on my team, I'd be like, wow, this guy's a douchebag.
Absolutely.
Don't even know who he is.
And even worse than that, he actually has like one of the golden immortals. And he made a gold statue out of it, even though it doesn't make any difference because you can't actually tell. So,
Man. Flaunting wealth. 4 floors, not so much. Guys, I'm back.
I'm back. Maybe the floors are really far apart. Like maybe it's actually just
Maybe
like
it's 4 floors of a different building.
Yeah, maybe you had to like run a mile down the road.
Go diagonally.
Yes.
Can you please finish before EG versus not today? Well, I mean, there's not much we could do. We would like to, but I don't know.
I mean, if I could make these teams play, I would do it. I'd just poke them until they play.
Could we actually unpause right now?
I think they've removed that. I don't want to try.
I don't want to try either.
Yeah, I'm not pressing my button. Actually, I think I disabled that button forever ago.
Okay. Well, we will forever be... It will be forever be a mystery, because I'm not going to press the button ever. I don't want to get players angry at me.
Absolutely not. Well, we actually have a game now. As everybody has paid their bills, and we're back in.
Checklist to do today. Play Dota. Pay bills. Check, check. Easy. Okay, bottom lane Flash is going to be once again pressured by Phoenix, who is actually not going to cancel the Icarus dive. Still going to put a lot of damage onto this Timbersaw, but not quite enough for lethal. Padrinho, still with 0 armor, has got to be really hesitant about diving tower like that. Bad Flashy is going to dodge a stomp, and it looks like trying to intercept the 4-minute rune is not going to get that one. Who's going to win this rune? It's going to be the Zeus with an invis. Not too terrible there, and I don't think it's going to be enough to get a kill unless he decides to go up towards top, but with an Observer Ward of the Radiant, it was already spotted.
Yeah, nothing's really going to immediately happen. We do have a bash up top onto Hockey, but that's just traded hits between these two carries. The overwhelming odds misses, but now with the IO back up and the heal, they're going to be just fine, although the IO might not be so. He's disrupted up and now caught between one too many enemy heroes and has already used the tether, so he's going to be stomped down by Elder Titan.
Getting blocked by those illusions as well. You can't really get out of there as any hero, let alone an IO, who is inherently a very soft hero. So BBC end up giving up first blood to the CrayC side, and it is going to be the IO to give it. If you want to be giving a first blood, it should be the IO to die, as he doesn't really have that much to contribute anyway. In a full-on dual lane, it's going to restrict Hockey's ability to go aggressive, but honestly, the Legion Commander's attempts at aggressiveness haven't really been paying off so far. She just needs level 6 and then it could happen, but that's level 6 into a Shadow Demon Disruption. I don't know if it's really possible.
Yeah, as far as Wee's build is concerned, we'll start things off with Power Shreds completed, and then we'll just crow the bottle back and forth. I expect this just to be an Agnim's rush game. Maybe backs off for drums before, but I'm not exactly sure how he plays. Shadow Demon up towards top, gonna self-destruct, but that might just end up securing his demise, as he will be brought down by the IO and his orbs. Elder Titan has stolen a decent sum of damage, but not enough to pursue that. It's already below half.
So they finally get their kill up towards top on the softest hero. Down towards the bottom lane, Lina being chased down by Flash is going to be brought down. No mana for Timber Chain, however. Padrinho has one more Fire Spirit, and Flash is going to try to deny himself to the neutrals. It will be a success, as Padrinho also misses with that last Spirit. So Timbersaw gets a kill and ends up going down, but it's not really a terribly huge deal. The Ursa is going to be pretty happy about that, or Hellbears as they're called. So 2-1 in favor of CrayC now.
Yeah, it's looking fine for them. I do wish they would change how Denizer showed up on the scoreboard, but yeah, it is in their favor. BBC, even though raw numbers might look even, it's still going to be advantage towards them. And we have been paused, but as far as the lanes are concerned, BBC are doing just fine. Toss Avalanche onto Inyasha, going to punch him once, but with the bottle charge is up. We can't go for any more. Now gets Zeus ulted down after a Thunderbolt. Easy peasy for Inyasha.
He was committed to a point where he had to go for that, otherwise he was just going to die if he fell back, so there really was no good way out of there for the Tiny, but at the same time, why are you trying to go for that one? Around the fog and around corners like that, Tiny gets a lot weaker since you actually have to land the avalanche with vision on your target to land the toss. So if you don't land that combo perfectly, most likely the enemies are going to get away. And Zeus was at a very healthy amount of HP as well, so not really sure why Wii was trying to go for that one. Ended up paying for it as well. Zeus ultimate down, but the cooldown of that spell is actually kind of low in comparison to other ultimates.
It definitely is. We'll be back up in a mere 50 seconds if you can get a kill from it and not just steal the kill away from it. You'll be just fine. Hockey up towards top. They're potentially looking to make a move for him. We do have level 6 almost on the Faceless Void, and they're poised to strike.
So if you catch Hockey with the Chronosphere, you have to make sure that the Chronosphere, or that the Legion Commander rather, is right on the edge of said Chronosphere, else the Tether is just going to heal up Hockey from the outskirts, and there's not really much that you could do about that. So if the Chronosphere is really well placed and they get this kill, otherwise Hockey's going to go aggressive onto Mitza. Here comes the Io. They're both going to get stomped, however. Taking a snooze for now. It's going to be Fatty Flashy to get woken up by the Elder Titan, but now here comes the Phoenix. He's going to quickly burn down the Elder Titan, now trying to go for the Shadow Demon as well. There should be 2 kills going the way of BBC, and it will be that. That's a double for BBC as Padrinho comes in big. He does have one more Fire Spirit to throw, does not have quite enough mana for a Supernova, but no point in Supernova-ing a Faceless Void. A nice rotation from BBC.
Definitely, and with this Phoenix's build, he's gone for the Urn first. He's probably going to be the one to build the mechanism for their team afterwards, but Pedrinho, with level 6, is at a high enough level to where he can play aggressively. And right now, Flash, although he has an Invis rune, he doesn't have enough mana or health to really look for an aggressive kill. He might try. I don't think he is going to, however.
And also Padrinho, he's still up on this top lane. There is a Shadow Demon incoming, but they have their eyes set on Mitza. This is going to be a very difficult kill for them to take. Hockey does have his duel, and actually it's going to be the Elder Titan to run into both the Io and the Phoenix. I don't think they have enough damage unless the Legion actually gets here. They're going to jump in, but Mitza's going to respond with the Chronosphere Curse onto Fatty Flashy as well. Here comes the Zeus. Stomp from the Elder Titan is going to land onto Hockey, setting up for Inuyasha's bolts. Hockey cannot get the kill any longer. Now he has to try to book it, but I don't think he's going to get away, especially with that disruption. Here comes the Timbersaw as well with the Chakram. Hockey's going to drop, and CrayC now turn this one around for a 2-0 of their own.
Yeah, raw kill score 3-5 in the favor of CrayC. This is going to be a nice rotation, and we're seeing the power of their burst damage already. With 3 points up in their bolt, now maxed out on the Zeus actually, as well as just 1 point into the natural order. It's already a pretty insane amount of damage, not to mention Timbersaw and his pure, especially onto all of the heroes except for the Lina, who will get a large chunk of their strength taken out by that Whirling Death. And even the Lina, incredibly squishy, especially at this point, going for Arcane Boots.
Unfortunately for the Lina, the BBC side is deciding to give her an additional amount of farm over towards top. They're going to catch Shadow Demon in a duel. This duel will be won by the Legion Commander. So first stack of damage before 10 minutes. Pretty good for her. Let's see if she can get any more down the line. They're going to try to go for Mitza a little bit further in, but I don't really know that's possible, as the Faceless Void just with a time walk out is going to be surviving. And they could try to go for this tower. It's actually remarkably low already. I guess just pushing very aggressively, creep wave after creep wave, is dropping this tower slowly but surely, and, well, CrayC are going to end up losing this tower eventually.
Yeah. Wii going to find himself a haste rune. There's potentially an opening if anybody's close, but the Zeus is not going up towards top, towards that rune spot, and Wii is going to show himself to the tower. The Phoenix Icarus dives over the top, just going to secure the second rune for Wii as well.
Alright, so double runed up. Unfortunately, can't really do that much with it. Lina, in the meantime, because she has been left on the bottom lane, is now level 7. So she's packing the Laguna Blade, has gone for pretty nuke-heavy build, and deciding to skip the Fiery Soul. I think that's fine because she has not been fighting at all, so her right clicks wouldn't have been relevant anyway. So Lina is pretty much on track to blow a couple people up. And though she can't outright kill the Zeus, the Shadow Demon is in trouble right now, and everyone else is very vulnerable to a blade.
Definitely. And I'd like to see them utilize that cooldown very well. It is not the longest of ultimate cooldowns, and that's really the benefit when you pick a Lina over the Lion, who has a more potent, just single target nuke. Phoenix going to find himself a Shadow Demon. Laguna Blade or not, he's going to fall and just burn down Supernova. It's going to come out inside the Chronosphere. Will the egg die? And it will. Just enough damage coming up from Faceless Void as the Spirit's Worn on top of him. It's going to be a dual victory for Elder Titan as Legion Commanders drop down. Now with the toss avalanche onto Inuyasha. They'll bring down the Elder Titan in turn, but now we is completely without backup and he's going to be dropped down. It's a 2 for 3 and heavily favoring CrayC.
BBC just not respecting the power of this Zeus. He did so much damage over in that last fight. 1500, of course, Thunder God's Wrath kind of messing with that math a little bit. But man, Zeus with level 4 lightning bolt. If you don't outright kill him off, you're probably not going to kill him at all. And BBC ended up giving the first stack of damage away to the Elder Titan. Not the worst hero to give damage to. Faceless Void could have been a lot worse, but still, that was a lot of burst damage from going towards the Legion Commander. They're going to try to go for the bottom lane. Inuyasha dropping very low. He will be going down here. He did get the kill on the Lina before the Lina died, before the Zeus died rather. So he did get experience for that in a 1-for-1 trade down bottom. But this is a support for a core. So BBC showing off their power. Of course, Pedrinho helping out a little bit, but honestly, not that much.
Yeah, it seems that all across the map, it feels really even across both of the teams whenever they look at these trades. Slightly favoring CrayC when it comes to just the raw numbers and kills, but then again, BBC are farming better on the Tiny as well as the Leech Commander.
And that could go a long way. If either of these two heroes pick up a Blink Dagger, and it looks like things could get really messy really quickly. Hockey actually already has his. He's going to press the attack before he duels, and I think that was a necessary move, although it will cost him the potential there. We in the mid lane is going to be jumped. He's going to get hit with the Chakram and the couple of Whirling Deaths. He's very low, and he has one toss, but it's not going to be enough, especially because you cannot run from heaven. It's going to be actually Hockey winning a duel down towards bottom at the exact same time, but it's going to be at the trade of the Tiny over towards mid. Once again, we playing really aggressively and overextending.
Yeah, and this aggression from Tiny is not going to be slowing down anytime soon. If it does for BBC, they're going to be in a bit of trouble, as Tiny has committed to a Blink Dagger for himself. I'm not completely on board with this choice, unless he gets a lot of kills. Huge Timber Chain into Chakram. Solitude's going to drop one way or another as Midza bashes him down. Phoenix with an Icarus Dive is able to make it out, but it's still one kill for Chronosphere.
303 on that Faceless Void, and he's doing pretty well for himself. Not the most net worth in the game, but still, I mean, he has a lot of kills. Can't really be too unhappy about that. Tiny gonna dive aggressively forward, wants to go for this Elder Titan. Toss Avalanche combo, one punch, gonna get the kill. He cannot get a kill on Flash without his cooldowns, though he sure as hell is going to try. He's now cursed up. Here comes the Phoenix from right behind, and it looks like the Shadow Demon might be in a little bit of trouble. Blink Toss, that will crater him. That's 2 kills now for Wii. Maybe redeeming his sloppy plays earlier, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure either. 3-3-1, Tiny, although he has been playing very aggressively, usually dies because of it. He'll be able to get his Agnum Scepter to decent timing, but I think this Blink is going to hurt more than it helps, unless he gets like 2 to 3 important pickoffs in the next 10 minutes.
And that's certainly possible with the Blink Dagger. Hockey also wielding his and 2 stacks of damage 14 minutes in. Pretty much right where you want to be as Legion Commander. Is going to join up with the Phoenix and look to jump in towards mid. This is going to be a dangerous jump in, though. He doesn't know that there's this many people here. Mitza is going to be the one to take the duel. Now Supernova as well. Stomp is going to cancel everything plus the disruption. No one's going to win this duel, but the Supernova will succeed, and it's going to be the Shadow Demon to lose ultimately. Hockey dropping very low. Thunder God's Wrath going to kill him off. Now Fatty Flash is dropping very low as well. He's cursed up. One more bash from Mitza going to kill him off. Where's the rest of BBC right now? They need their Lina and their Tiny. They're going to bring in the Lina. Not killing off Mitza, though, because of the backtrack. Mitza still alive. He's changing his strength treads for all his worth, but he just can't do it. He's going to be going down. Solitude, in the meantime, is going to fight to the death. At the same time, he's going to be dropping to Elder Titan. Here comes Wii finally into this fight. Sunray as well. I don't think it's going to be enough, but a Blink Punch, and Wii's going to get another double kill. And it's the Shadow Demon to respawn, and that should just about be the end of it.
Yeah, fair enough. Tiny's going to back off for drums as well, so pretty much just going for this very early fighting build, and Wii isn't stopping here. If Shadow Demon shows to this Tiny, he's going to just pop him. Wii is looking for it, and he spots eyes on Flash, but can't really go for that kill by himself. He's going to get the Avalanche Toss, drops Timbersaw incredibly low, defensive disruption. He's going to fall, looking for the duel. Will they find it? The Blink has been cancelled, or already been spent by the Legion, I should say. The duel doesn't come out. The Chronosphere is going to stop that one. Now bashing down the poor Phoenix, and now into Hockey. They will lose his life. Backtrack's not coming out enough for Mitza, but then again, the Tiny's not going to live either, and Fatty Flashy, left alone, is going to be popped as well.
This Faceless Void is just doing a disgusting amount of damage. He doesn't have any damage items except for the Mask of Madness, but he's hitting so freaking hard right now. I don't even know how that's possible. Maybe getting a couple lucky backtracks that I'm not seeing, but my god, this Faceless Void, now level 11, has a level 2 Chronosphere, and he's packing now 1500 gold after the Mask of Madness. Usually, you don't see Faceless Voids getting into this really hard carry state until much later in the game. Usually, Faceless Voids nowadays played more as utility, but this is certainly going to be a hard-hitting Void this game.
Definitely, especially considering the items that BBC are going for. They're nice items to have, like on the Legion Commander, going for a Blade Mail after the Blink. That's pretty standard fare, but I think the biggest issue for them is that Tiny Wii's build is going to delay his late game potential, whereas Faceless Void just being given so many kills without having to really hard commit to some just cost-efficient items, even though Mask of Madness is one. It works really well with just Faceless Void's natural kit.
And Tiny eventually is going to get to that point. He's picked up drums after the Blink Dagger, so this is pretty much the early game focus build if you're going to be going for Tiny. You want to get Power Treads and Blink Dagger, or maybe Phase Boots if you are so inclined, but this is pretty much it. With 5-4-2, he's not doing a terrible job, but he certainly is not doing a fantastic job either. Usually when you have a Tiny, your burst power, your ability to 100 to 0 people, is going to be winning you so many ganks consecutively that the enemy team is going to be falling behind, but the Tiny, for whatever reason, not getting as much done as a really aggressive Tiny should be getting accomplished right now.
Still, BBC, I think their experience is showing, especially in the last hit chart, and just their effectiveness around the map. Phoenix obliterated now inside the Supernova. Way too many enemy heroes for that to succeed, and he's going to be dropped, even though he got Fire Spirits on, I believe, one of them.
Phoenix in that egg form, not really too durable against that many heroes. He is going for a Hood, which is going to be nice, I suppose, versus this Zeus, but that's about it. Like, no one else actually does that much magic damage. There is actually a maxed out Elder Titan Ore, Natural Order, something I actually did forget about for a second. Tiny's going to try to go for the Elder Titan, but gets eviscerated in response. Hockey's going to try to duel with the ETs. Is going to win that, but it's going to be at the cost of the IO. Tiny's forced to buy back now. They really want to fight this. We has a Blink Avalanche toss in 2 seconds, but there's no one to actually fight. This is getting really out of hand for BBC. They're just constantly getting out-damaged and out-bursted, mostly thanks to this Zeus L10 combination. Wee's going to get an Avalanche Toss combo into Flash, but he will fall short once again. Now here comes Mitza. Unfortunately, he can't get the Chronosphere off. He's now chain stunned up. Laguna Blade still being held by the Lina. Will throw it onto Mitza, but it's a little bit too late because the Chronosphere is already up. She's going to go down before anything else. Wee's going to try to chase forward for this Faceless Void, but I don't think he can make this one happen either. Avalanche up to the high ground. It will land. It will get the kill. Tiny collecting big there. In the meantime, it's going to be Hockey chasing after Flash. Will get that kill. No duel available for another 5 seconds, and it's going to be Inuyasha to be chased down. He's going to be thrown up into the air. Maybe they're going to wait for this duel. There's the duel, and now there's the death of the Zeus. BBC, I think, turn it around and ultimately draw an even-ish fight, maybe even slightly in their favor. But man, these fights are just so incredibly messy from both sides.
Yeah, it really is. The raw numbers, I think, overall are going to be fairly even, but they just get a lot of experience out of that more than anything. All of their heroes are out-leveling their counterparts on the enemy side, maybe with the exception of Phoenix, but that's not super surprising, and honestly, level 12 Phoenix is pretty much all that you need.
The leveling of Phoenix isn't really going to be too relevant moving forward. You just want to have them get a little bit more tankiness and try to guarantee that Supernova to actually burst. And so far, it hasn't really been doing that. It's been bursting, but in the wrong way. You don't really want to have it break that way. Hockey is still holding on to 44 damage, however, and for 20 minutes into the game, that's actually pretty high. Over towards mid, Wee is still pushing things out aggressively by himself. This Tiny really has to be so careful. You would think after the first 5 deaths he would have learned, but he's thinking he's a little bit tankier than he actually is. Hockey, though, going to get the duel onto the Elder Titan. There's the Supernova as well. This time Disruption is going to cancel out the duel, it seems. Yes, duel will fizzle, but it will get the kill regardless. Now Supernova stun onto Flash. LSA and Laguna Blade will finish off the Timbersaw. That's going to be 2 kills. No extra damage for Hockey, but still, it's 2 kills. Can't be too upset about that.
Definitely can't, especially when you get a tier 2 tower after the fact. And I think that's one of the biggest differences between these two teams. Even though in raw numbers, the fights are going pretty evenly when it comes to kills, if you take a look at BBC's side of the map, it's completely intact. And that says something to the advantage that they have for themselves. If CrayC are able to take some tier 1s and eventually a tier 2 off of the enemy's side, they'll be able to come back into this game very easily. But BBC, they have spent most of their game on the enemy side of the map, looking for aggressive rotations, and it's kind of working out for them.
Now they're going to try to take an objective aside from these towers. It's going to be Roshan, their objective right now. CrayC, though, are wielding a pretty decent Roshan fighting team. Timbersaw can get in there with a Chakram. Chronosphere is absolutely backbreaking. And speaking of Chronosphere, not going to happen just yet because he gets bashed first thing. Now the duel onto Mitza. Can they bring down this Void? It looks like they will. More damage for Hockey. Was that a Roshan bash? I think it was.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it. I'd have to watch the replay or something to actually know.
It was probably Craggy, actually. They're going to try to chase forward. Yeah. Going to get the Shadow Demon snipe as well. And who else is going to die? Zeus Faceless Void forced to buy back just to keep the enemies off for Roshan, but that must have been a Craggy exterior proc.
Something. I'm actually going to check the combat log to see.
Alright, you do that, and in the meantime, we'll see if anything else is going to be brewing in this Roshan pit. It looks like Everyone from BBC going to back off, except for
No, no,
Solitude,
no,
who's
no.
going to find the Timber Saw. LSA combo with Laguna Blade, not quite going to get the kill, but a couple more right clicks, and Solitude is going to get a solo kill on a Timber Saw. Lina getting a little bit of extra farm, getting herself a Yule Scepter. Now she's pretty much self-sufficient.
Yep, it was a Craggy. Confirmed.
Craggy exterior, pretty darn good. And Chronosphere doesn't turn it off, so that is going to be a BKB necessary for Mitza, or just not going for Tiny, and that doesn't sound like a good way to go.
Yeah, it really doesn't. I think BKB is completely a necessity this game up against BBC. Lina plus Tiny pretty much mandates it, if nothing else, from BBC. And then Phoenix, as well as those Fire Spirits just being so annoying if you can actually land them on the Faceless Void. Even with Mask of Madness, Maelstrom, Treads, you're still going to be attacking abysmally slow.
Yeah. Fire Spirits are just so great at shutting down attack speed. They're going to start a fight off to the left side. Solitude, going to throw an LSA, hits down to no one. Hockey, in the meantime, is going to try to duel, and he will win said duel. Supernova, though, is there, and Mitza, I don't know if he has enough damage to crack this egg. It's not going to be in time as the Supernova and catch 3 with the explosion. Hockey's still alive, is going to get himself a double kill. Now going on to the ET and Flash both. They're going to try to chase after the Io. They might get this kill, but they're dead right now. Even if they do get this, Io's not even going to die. He lives at 50 HP. And CrayC lose all of their heroes. They only get the Lina. Hockey gets more damage, and all because Supernova just barely exploded in favor of BBC.
Definitely. One hero taking out Supernova is pretty darn difficult at this point in the game. Level 1 Supernova is doable with 5 attacks to destroy, but 7 inside that 6-second duration is pretty darn difficult for the Faceless Void even. If you take a look at his attack speed, it's 0.75 per attack, and unless you start it immediately as the Supernova is created, it's not happening.
And he has Mask of Madness, though he has to work through Fire Spirits as well. It gets a little bit difficult when you're trying to go for this Phoenix, and so Phoenix doing quite a bit of work. I think my request from earlier, where we get to see a Phoenix actually performing decently, is going to be coming true, as the Phoenix, it's not the perfect game for sure. She died a couple times randomly with Supernovas failing, but it's good enough right now. It's a good enough showing, and now they're going to finish off Roshan. Sunray from the outskirts going to keep everyone healthy. And the response from CrayC this time is just going to be a little bit too slow. Elder Titan's going to see it, and they're going to realize it because of the notification, but now Hockey has a double life.
Yeah. Tiny, even after going for Blink and Drums, is going to complete up his Agnum Scepter at a really good time. And even though at a certain point it looked like Faceless Void would completely run away with that game, or with the game, he just hasn't been able to do so. In the last couple of fights, his Chronospheres have been either not coming out or subpar.
And either way, that's not a good thing for the team. Lina's going to find Shadow Demon by himself, gets the snipe out there. Hockey, it's worthwhile to note that Aegis, even if you die, or if you lose a duel with the Aegis, you still give damage away, or you gain damage if the enemy has an Aegis. So that's not the best situation for Legion Commander, but she is now sitting on almost a heart after Blade Mail. This is going to be a very, very hard to kill Legion Commander. And even though the natural order is going to help out, Hockey at this point with the Blade Mail is going to be a huge roadblock for CrayC. Like, you have to kill the Legion Commander, but you can't hit her, so what are you going to do? Yeah,
the HP pools on CrayC are just, I don't know, so small. All of their heroes are pretty much below 1200. The Zeus has 1233, but I'm not going to count that. Their tank is Faceless Void if he gets a backtrack or two, but even so, Blade Mail is going to absolutely wreck them.
Once again, another case for the BKB, which is so far not being picked up just yet by the Void. He just finished his Maelstrom, I believe, so it's still a decent item to have on Faceless Void, but BKBs in this game are just so necessary, not only so that you could actually do the damage, but you are getting a lot of magic returned to you through the Tiny, through the Lina, through the Phoenix, and now Hockey's going to look to jump in. Blade Mail already up, blinking blindly onto the high ground, is going to get purged for his troubles. He does have the Aegis, so he's not in any danger of actually dying here, but he really doesn't want to lose an Aegis like that. That's just embarrassing. Hockey will be fine.
Yeah, he'll get a couple of heals coming out from the Wisp, turn on that overcharge, and then they'll get the bonus heal coming out from the press of the attack. They'll have the Heart flying out soon as well, so Hockey can sort of just rinse and repeat and go for plays like that every couple of seconds, and even if he dies, it's not the end of the world, as you've already said. So things are looking good for BBC. They have firm control over this map. If you take a look at their ward vision, they see everything.
Can't get away with anything if you're CrayC. Wherever you go, you will be spotted. Smoke up from CrayC hasn't happened in quite a long time, and I think at this point it might be a little bit too late unless they want to go for a wraparound, which might be the course of action. But at this point, their tower is now under siege. Hockey still in the front lines, taking a lot of damage. We'll lose the Aegis here. Sunray, that's not going to do anything. So Hockey down, at least Aegis down. Will not have a blink out because of that chakram, but will be able to walk his way out. Those types of plays are things that BBC will have to try to avoid. But now with the heart, like, Legion Commander still taking a lot of damage, but has that much more health.
Yeah, and things get a little bit harder for them. They are going to send one up towards top, and that one being the Lina. She's holding onto a Yule Scepter as well as quite a lot of Volvos for the team. As far as supports are concerned, is pretty insanely farmed for 26 minutes, and it is going to have a Blink Dagger after this creep wave. In fact, farming better than the Timbersaw, who really hasn't had a huge impact at all this game. He's gotten decent levels inside the laning stage, and he has had a couple of good chakrams, but Flash... This is usually the time where Timbersaw really wants to be running this show, and he's not doing so.
Yeah, the Timbersaw has had his moments. A couple of burst nukes onto the Legion Commander, getting a couple kills earlier on for the team. But outside of one or two times when he just landed the entire combo on the Legion, that's been pretty much the extent of his contributions. And Hockey, not slowed down by this at all, is going to walk right into a Chronosphere. Mitsa's got to go for Pedrinho instead because of that Blade Mail. Pedrinho is going to get blended. Now with the Zeus ultimate, it's going to kill off two. Hockey's going to be the third. There's the damage. There's the turnaround. Mitsa getting the Chronosphere just in time as Duel takes apparently a little bit longer to cast than Chronosphere.
Yeah, it was a really awkward fight for BBC to take. The IO also tethering on to the Legion Commander inside the Chrono, just underestimating the tether distance, or overestimating, I suppose. Tiny's going to get a tier 2 tower up top, and now threatening to look for an avalanche toss on either of them. He probably can't get this. I don't know. He's going to isolate himself as Zeus. Laguna Blade going to finish him off, and he's a crater. There's the LSA after the Yule Scepter, and that's going to be an easy 2 kills for BBC, stopping any progression on the map for CrayC, except for this bottom tier 1.
Man, Solitude's putting in some pretty serious work with that Yule Scepter. Blink Dagger, plus the Fiery Soul mobility. This Lina's going around places, and she's doing a hell of a lot for the team. She's having that extra nuke on top of an Avalanche Toss combo. Not many heroes can survive that at all in Dota, and especially not as Zeus. That's just not going to happen. So Solitude, with the farm that he's been getting, is transitioning into more and more of a heavy hitter. And at this point, I would say his damage output or his usefulness for the team and Phoenix's usefulness are about even, and this is a support Lina in quotation marks.
Yeah, I think that Phoenix is going to get a little bit more, or a little bit scarier now that he gets a Heaven's Halberd. And even though Faceless Void is working towards the BKB, he has enough gold for the 2 major components, but not much more. For probably a good 5 minutes, we're going to see Phoenix with a Halberd and Faceless without a BKB. And even with the Black King bar up, the evasion as well as that disarm is still going to be a useful tool for them outside of that duration.
We can see the state of the game right now if you just look at where the heroes of CrayC are. Those wards pretty much keeping CrayC within their base, and now Shadow Demon thinking he's going to go for a little bit of warding. Fortunately for him, Hockey decides not to pounce, but CrayC, they're not actually leaving their base at all. They're constantly forced to defend on all fronts. Bottom lane's pushed out pretty far towards the Radiant. Compare that to the other lanes, but still, it's not quite enough for CrayC to actually do anything. So BBC have 100% complete map control. That means they're farming more things. They have their jungle to farm, they have the enemy jungle to farm, they have all the lanes, they have all the pressure. And CrayC, what can they do to actually break this? They have a Chronosphere, so they should be looking to break this. But it seems like they're just not confident in their ability to take a fight outside their base.
I can't blame them, but then again, I think you need to do something before BBC find an opening, because if you just wait until Hockey gets a duel victory, that's not really acceptable.
And the amount of time that Hockey has to wait is growing. He still has 72 damage 30 minutes into the game. It's a pretty decent amount for a Legion Commander to have. He's always looking for those kills. He's always going to be the one on the front line. I'd like to see the IO partner up with the Tiny just so that they could relocate on top of a duel. But it seems like Fatty Flashy has his preferences with the Legion Commander instead, which is fine. If you have an overcharged Legion Commander, you could chop through them extra quick. But it looks like they're, well, just awkwardly going to farm up for the rest of the game. So maybe when Roshan is back up, BBC are going to try to take this, and maybe when Roshan is back up, CrayC are going to leave their base. But CrayC don't have any vision of this area, so they will not know when Roshan is back up, and they don't have many great tools in order to find out either, with the exception of Zeus's ulti.
Yeah, even though in theory a super farm Faceless Void could win late game up against BBC, it's incredibly unlikely. With the start that they have, and since they're not finding farm, they're going to look for a smoke pickoff, and they found themselves Pedrinho. They should be able to kill him off. Let's see if they're able to do it before the Chronosphere ends. He is not going to be able to get Supernova or anything as they throw the kitchen sink plus some into that Phoenix.
And they also use the Zeus ultimate, so they see Solitude off to the right. However, they will not engage that target. Phoenix may be the casualty, Not a really terribly huge deal for the BBC side to lose, especially if they get anything response flash. Over towards mid is going to pick a fight with Wee. Probably not the fight that he wants to take. No Solitude. What are you still doing there, man? Not a good place to be. Has an LSA to turn things around, but actually blink out. Is Solitude really going to survive this? That was such a close blink, but looks like he's just fine.
Yeah, he's going to make it out, and good for his team as well, since that would have been the gem on the deck, and a little bit of their map control probably being taken away from them. Their wards, although they're good and give a lot of good vision, they're fairly easy to de-ward as well.
And CrayC, they will try to get that going, but still, even though it may be BBC's wards just eventually timing out, maybe eventually being destroyed, but it doesn't really matter just because they're playing in such a way that they keep up their map control, so even though they may be a little bit more blind, they still have the presence on the map just because their heroes have so much threat. If you get caught just by yourself from a Legion Commander or from a Tiny, you're just going to die, and if you catch, well, maybe even the Lina, you're just going to die also, not to mention the possibility for relocate, so this is still very scary for CrayC to get outside of their base.
Yeah, it definitely is. Blink Dagger for the Timbersaw is going to be his pickup after the Bloodstone. And even though in a normal game, I'm all for Blink on Timber, I don't think this is the game for it. Blink on Timbersaw is kind of nice when you're ahead and you're just looking for those perfect angles to look for kills, but I think without a BKB, Flash is just going to fall flat on his face.
It's like you could reposition yourself, great, so that you could jump right into the middle of a Supernova, into a duel, into an Avalanche Toss combination. It will give, in theory, CrayC more abilities to start fights, but I don't really, it's not even like initiation item for Timbersaw, it's just a positioning aid. If you start a fight off of a Blink Whirling Death Timber Chain, then it's probably a very small scale gank on like an IO or something, and that's fine, but it's certainly not what they need right now.
Yeah, the only tool that can convincingly start a fight on their own terms is the Faceless Void Chronosphere. They might be looking up towards lean up towards top, but Solitude's able to TP away to safety. CrayC, they have seized themselves a little bit more map control. The two wards have been able to place for themselves, but it's still not enough. They're still stuck behind this line.
Alright, so it's going to be just BBC maintaining map control once again with the gem on the Phoenix. They're going to de-ward the Roshan area. They're just setting up for it, and they have all the time in the world to do so. They have to worry about the AoE team combination of CrayC crashing that Roshan pit. There is an Observer ward in the area, but if Roshan is going to be attempted, it's most likely going to be crashed by a smoked up CrayC side, so that is probably going to be irrelevant, that ward. Regardless, Roshan is going to be the focal point. If BBC get it, they're going to try to go for high ground. Otherwise, CrayC are right back into this game. But as it stands right now, BBC are getting more and more ahead just by having this stalled out game state.
They definitely are. That more and more ahead for hockey is still yet to be seen. 4,000 gold. But Wee is going to have the complete Assault Cuirass and a BKB at about the same time the Faceless Void is. A little bit later than that, but he finished up an Assault Cuirass, effectively doubling up and more than doubling up the Faceless Void's farm, at least in the last couple of minutes. And now spotting out Roshan with the Invis Rune, they'll tether in the Wisp, and they can more or less take this by themselves. And there's very little chance that CrayC can get to this pit fast enough, even though in theory they have a really good Roshan fight with Earth Splitters, Chronospheres, and what have you, Timbersaw as well flying through. They're nowhere close. That's going to be free Aegis towards Balkan Bears.
Free Aegis, we got Desolator, straight purchased by the Legion Commander, also Tiny, very close to his BKB. They should not be looking for a push until Tiny completes this item. It's an item that's definitely worth waiting for. Also, Lina is getting close to an Aghanim Scepter. I don't know if that's necessarily an item worth waiting for, but BBC, they're just going to keep on applying the pressure, same pressure that they have applied previously. We getting a little bit too close, though. He's going to get nuked very, very hard. Sunray, a little bit of healing from Pedrino is going to keep him up a little bit, but Tiny really needs his BKB if they're actually going to go for this in the safest way possible. They could just try to YOLO it, and look like that's what they're going to do, but this is unnecessarily risky for them.
With a double damage rune on Tiny, however, that tier 3 tower melts. Now into the barracks he goes. The Glyph's going to delay this, but Sunray's giving everybody effective heart healing throughout all of this. They're looking for the Chronosphere, connects onto Wee, as well as onto Flashy and Hacky. They will be able to focus down the Wisp first. Wee's going to lose his Aegis, and now Hockey is also going to probably lose his life unless he's able to heal through this. He actually is. The Wisp comes back in this after a relocate. The Lina is going to fall on the sidelines to the Timbersaw. Disruption going to delay a little bit onto Wee, but he tosses the IO deep into enemy lines. That's not a great place for Fashy Flatty to be in, or oh my goodness, I can't even say his name. Timbersaw has been blinking on the backlines, trying to clean up, does get the double kill, and Tiny is going to be forced back. So high ground, I suppose, defended, but that was a very, very spread out and sketchy engagement for both sides. Buyback forced out by Wisp, and Timbersaw's not done yet. Chasing both the Phoenix and the Tiny, blink by the Tiny onto the backlines, going onto the Zeus. Ghost Scepter's gonna save him for a couple of those auto attacks. The Sunray doing a lot of work on all three of these heroes. They will be able to kill off the Tiny, however, with the Timber Chain whirling death, and now into the Phoenix they're going to focus. That's going to be another kill towards their team. Phoenix kills one beyond the grave with a couple of Fire Spirits, but still an advantageous trade for CrayC, especially since they'll be able to secure the gem.
So first of all, we had a really nice Chronosphere from the Faceless Void, even though Pedrinho was put into the sun, or got into the Supernova pretty much as soon as that Chronosphere landed. Did end up stunning the Faceless Void through BKB a little bit after the Faceless Void. It was still a very nice Chronosphere holding many people out. The Tiny was isolated from the rest of the team as he was inside the base. The rest of BBC were kind of fighting outside of the CrayC base, so there was 2 fights going on there. Tiny also does not end up waiting for that BKB, so if he had that, who knows, things could have gone potentially very differently for him. Either way, CrayC, they take a couple of fights and they take them both very well, in that Faceless Void is just fine to hold out people for a long time while the rest of CrayC cleans up the Tiny in their base. It's definitely high ground defended, and they were going for the melee Raxes the entire time. The greedy play for them, and all that work they put into the Raxes are soon going to be regenerated back.
Yeah. Flash, after that fight, is completely caught up in this game as the Timbersaw. In fact, is doing really well after killing off that Tiny, now sitting on 5,000 gold. I think it's going to be a Scythe for Flash. I don't think they need any more damage than what they already have. That's not the issue, but controlling up the Tiny before he's able to get off the BKB or the Leech Commander, I think would be definitely a worthy investment. Instead, it's going to be an Aghanim Scepter. I can't really fault it. Aghanims is such a good item on Timbersaw. But then again, I think just going for the more conservative choice would have been better.
And Sheepstick is, with a Blink Dagger especially, would have been just fantastic for CrayC to start these fights, which is something that, once again, BBC have helped out CrayC in that regard. They started the fight just by running up the high ground. It's not a clean initiation, it's certainly not fancy or flashy, but it is a way to start a fight, I suppose. But a Blink Hex is probably one of the best ways to start a fight, at least start a gank onto one person. Maybe a fight will break out afterwards. They're going to try to relocate down towards bottom, and uh-oh, Elder Titan is in quite a bit of trouble. Yule Scepter going to save him for a little bit. Press the attack is going to wear off, but there's still a duel and a lot of damage, and the Elder Titan is going to lose this one. However, Fatty Flashy, now caught in the Chronosphere, is going to be brought down. Hockey as well caught in there. And that's going to be 2 for 1. Damage stolen by the Legion Commander, but I'm not entirely sure if that's worth it.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. That is one of the benefits of having Aghanim Scepter on Timbersaw, especially with so many Bloodstone charges. Now at 17 on this Timber, after those last couple of fights, just been rolling in the mana. He is able to follow up Chronosphere. Usually the synergy between Faceless Void and Timbersaw is a little wonky, but when you do have the double Chakram, you don't really need to Timber Chain through them. You just drop both of those onto somebody and they melt.
And it's very easy to do as well. Just try to skirt on the outsets. Maybe look for a Whirling Death to be put into the Chronosphere as well, but anything additional is just bonus. So Timbersaw is getting to a point now that he has Aghanims where he could actually start contributing again. 40 minutes is usually past the Timbersaw's prime. He's very disruptive, he's very tanky, but doesn't do as much damage as he would do something like 20 minutes into the game. Mitza is actually going to pop the BKB, now trying to go for the Lina, but quick blink out from Solitude. That's a wasted BKB charge. That's a 9-second one right there, and Lina didn't even try to go for that one, so it's a pretty nice win there for BBC, but yeah, back to the Timbersaw. He's very disruptive, very tanky, but with the Aghanim Scepter, once you pick that up, you're actually relevant again, because while you're being tanky and stuff, you're doing a hell of a lot of damage with double Chakram. Yeah.
Solitude has picked up an Aghanim Scepter for the Lina, and that is going to be a nice tool for them. CrayC, their heroes aren't incredibly tanky. That Shadow Demon could almost get just instantly popped by the Lina with just the Laguna Blade. If you throw anything on top of that, Dragon Slave, LSA, doesn't matter. Shadow Demon's instantly gone.
Well, maybe it's not going to be relevant unless Solitude... He could have easily turned around and killed the Shadow Demon. I don't think he realized it, because you see a Shadow Demon running at you, you expect there to be backup, and there was backup. But now he's going to try to set up for the Elder Titan LSA. This time going to miss. Laguna Blade also going to be dodged by the Disruption. Very nice play by the Shadow Demon. Unfortunately, not going to matter too much. Lina's down a little bit of mana, but her ultimate's back up in 40 seconds.
Yeah, it definitely was a good play from Lure GG, however, and that is one of the powers of this Shadow Demon. He does have a lot of spells that he can anticipate or completely mess up with the defensive disruptions. Leech Commander duel, Avalanche tossed from the Tiny, and even the Laguna Blade. It does have a very projected animation.
Mitsa going down the bottom lane is going to be jumped by a duel. Wee is here as well, annihilated the face of Void. Double damage on Wee, cleaving through everybody. That's a double kill and a triple kill for Wee. Oh my god. Plus the 186 seems pretty balanced. Now onto the melee Raxes. This time it's going to fall. Backdoor protection be damned. Fortification be damned. They don't even care. I'm surprised the fortification is even holding against that. Flash jumps right in, but he gets stunned up because of Craggy again. He's going to drop. Don't fight the double damage Tiny, guys. It's a terrible idea. Now into the Supernova they go. Mostly just to zone out the rest of CrayC. They're going to get this kill probably on the Shadow Demon. Toss not quite going to do it, but one more tap is all they need. There it is. Bottom lane Raxes has gone down its entirety. And just like that is the game over.
Holy hell, my goodness, that damage from Tiny was absurd. Leech Commander does deny him the Rampage, but my goodness, the Rune of Many GGs strikes again. Hockey going to get himself another stack of damage, ending at 140. They drop a Laguna Blade. I believe that was the first one with Ags that was actually used, but either way, that game, it felt like CrayC were holding on for the longest of times, and then just like that, game over.
Dude, if I was watching the stream right now, I would not expect this game to be over by now, but that was so, like, randomly spontaneous. Suddenly, Tiny with Mask of Madness crit comes to your front door, double damage rune. I'm pretty sure he killed Mitsa in one hit. I'm gonna actually keep my eye on the stream to see if that happened, but this is the best of two, guys. We're gonna see if CrayC can bring it back. They actually didn't perform as poorly as I thought. BBC had to fight a lot harder for that victory, but we will be resuming in just a little bit, guys, so short break, then game two.